All right, you guys, we're here with David Clements, who's been a major hero in this fight so far for election integrity. I'll let David share his story and also a little bit of an interesting tidbit related to Hawaii.
All right. Well, hey, you asked me to kind of just give people the Cliff Notes version of how I got involved. And January 6th, I think everyone kind of looked with horror that Congress failed us on that last opportunity for the rule of law to work with respect to elections. And then you had what I believe to be a false flag that took place, where you had all kinds of people that were God-fearing people that love their country, that just wanted to protest the real insurrection that took place on November 3rd. They showed up. And I was just so devastated by that, spiritually, emotionally, because I used to teach law as a professor. I'm like, if the rule of law is broken, I can't just go through the motions and tell my students that this works and this is wonderful. And we've seen this absolute rejection of liberty since the COVID pretext. So I recorded a video that went viral. It got me on Tucker Carlson, and I happened to talk about my work on just analyzing the cases in all of the election fraud cases. And no one else with my credentials at the time was talking about election fraud. And my background before being a law professor was I was a prosecutor. So I'm pretty skilled with just presenting evidence. It's just something that I'm comfortable with. And then, that interview turned into meeting, Bannon, going on the War Room, and going and being an expert panelist with Regent University, Michelle Bachman. And then it was being able to come here a year ago, not here personally, but to the Cyber Symposium with Mike Lindell. And then I guess I was just more of a reporter. I was just reporting on election fraud. And I was just getting so fed up with how audits weren't getting done, and people would just use them as echo chambers and just to fight. And so we said, we're going to do an audit. We're going to figure out how to do it where I live, and we would advise other people. So we've been working behind the scenes, doing the grunt work, the canvassing, the lawfare, trying to engage with people. So that's been my journey since January 6, 2021. And
New Mexico.
In New Mexico, but I've been to 40 states in person and been able to get a glimpse of how the cheat is deployed in very different ways depending on where you go. So that's what I've been doing for the past 18, 19 months.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I can't even express, gratitude that we feel towards, like you were saying, and I think we've been experiencing a lot in Hawaii that we're needing legal help, and nobody's really willing to kind of step up and do that for, maybe legitimate reasons. It's quite risky. I'm sure you've got some stories to share about that.
It's risky. So I'm a former law professor.
Yeah.
I was terminated for refusing to subject my students to the jab, because I was a consumer protection expert. So I actually taught that as a course. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, nothing that we're hearing complies with any law that I've ever looked at. And then because I talked about elections, I've had many, many complaints filed against my law license. So it's all politically motivated. And then if that wasn't enough, Congress, their oversight committee, got involved into our little audit in Otero County because they're so scared of what we were finding, to where they started issuing subpoenas to get communication records between the auditors and the audit teams. The county commissioner, Coy Griffin, who was one of the courageous votes to get rid of Dominion in Otero, just went through a trial this week to remove him from office. I mean, so it's been a relentless fight. And I would love to go back to the old life and practice law. But right now, the cost in engaging in this battle is that my reputation has just been destroyed.
Right.
I was once an award-winning prosecutor, an award-winning professor. Now, if you Google my name, it's cringeworthy what you'll read.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to represent clients and advise them, but I have to tell them going in, a judge that Googles my name is going to hold it against you. And once a judge can acquire a jurisdiction over the attorneys and the parties, you can see all kinds of injustices. So in Texas, there's a great couple that ran for office for a judicial race. They challenged the results, and the judge sanctioned them $30,000 because they didn't believe that fraud was a real issue and that it was a frivolous claim. So everything that I deal with, the mainstream media says it's frivolous and fake. And so you give tremendous power to a judge that's acquiring personal jurisdiction over the attorneys. And if it's not me, you'll see stuff like with John Eastman, who's a law professor. FBI came and took his phone with a bogus warrant. You've got Peter Navarro getting arrested outside of an airport for his work related to the elections. Steve Bannon getting arrested. The latest raid at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump. So we're seeing lawlessness, and so a lot of attorneys are understandably going, I don't want this. I don't want this.
Why do it then?
Well, because you can't unsee what you see. And I've got such a clear vision of how bad things are. I think that's the gift that God gave me, is that a lot of people see that the stuff that I've done is courageous, or at least they tell me that. Like I've jumped off a cliff. And I've said this many times. I see that we've all fallen over the cliff. And while I voluntarily jumped into this mess, everyone else is going to go splat and hit the ground at some point, and they're not even aware of it. They're not even aware of how bad things are. So I think it's more of a survival instinct that my reputation can go in the crapper. That's fine if we win. But I have no illusions that I'll ever have the semblance of a life where I get to be a professor again if the Republic's burning.
Right.
And so that's where I'm at. And so it's like go big or go home.
Yeah.
And so we're going to swing and fight and claw and try everything we can to preserve what's left of our voice in the election system. And I believe we're going to win. I believe that eventually it's going to happen. And you feel it here today. It's a different feeling than last year. Last year was like, prove that fraud happened. And now everyone's saying, yeah, we know there's fraud, but what can we do about it?
Right.
And so now it's the next mission is we're going to give you as many solutions as we can to chip away. And I think at some point we all want to experience that the emperor has no clothes moment, where the tyrants go, we have been completely laid bare for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working for.
Awesome. And we firmly believe that truth will prevail as well.
Yeah.
So awesome. Let's do this. And just the last little bit that you shared with us yesterday, a little bit of history about you in Hawaii.
Well, I've been to 40 states this past calendar year, and the one state that I want to go to for purely personal reasons is Hawaii, because my mother's Hawaiian. And she went to Kamehameha High School. My grandmother grew up on Oahu. They have friends from Molokai. And I've never been to Hawaii. So I am a Hapa. I'm of the Hapa tribe. My mom's Hawaiian, my dad's Hali. And I've got a strong connection with the island, even though I haven't been there. So a lot of family members still live there. And they're cheering me on from this little island in the Pacific Ocean. So that's the tidbit. Every one of my siblings, myself included, all have Hawaiian middle names, and so it's.
What's your Hawaiian middle name?
That's Kale.
Okay, awesome.
And my brother's, I think, Keikoa. My sister's is Puanani. I mean,
Awesome.
we've got the full spectrum.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
Well, I would say also to our viewers here, let's make it happen. Let's bring our Hawaiian warrior over to the islands, and we can use some help.
I would love that. It's the one list. I would love to visit as many islands, and you're not forgotten.
All right, we'll make it happen.
Great.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and your energy and everything
Great.
you do for us.
Well, aloha.
Mahalo.